So, guys, in our last session yesterday, we have discussed the basic concept of HTTP. We discussed what is HTTP. We discussed what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. We also discussed why we need HTTP in our application. We also discussed what are the components involved in HTTP request. And at the same time, we have also discussed what are the different components involved in the HTTP response. And finally, we have also discussed what are the responsibility of a website, or you can say front-end application, and what are the responsibility of web service, that is our back-end applications. And today what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the back-end part. Back-end part means what? Now our main objective is how Angular is going to consume the RESTful services. So if Angular is going to consume the RESTful services, then first of all, we need to develop the RESTful services, because if there is no RESTful services, then how Angular will communicate and how Angular is going to consume those services. So in step one, what we are going to do is we are going to develop a RESTful service, or you can say RESTful services product management. So let assume we are having a product table, and let us understand how we are going to provide some endpoint, right, which is going to manage the data in the product database table. So when I'm saying manage the data, means what? Means
Sir,
both the
your screen is not shared.
already I'm sharing my screen. I don't know, right? Guys, my screen is not visible.
Yes.
Visible, visible.
Arya, I think you have some.
Sometimes,
You are.
Zoom person is not comfortable with this now. We can't see it. Yesterday I faced them. After updating, sir, it is clearly visible now.
Once you get pop-up, just select that option. Check box. Like radio button is there, na? After clicking, okay, it will be displayable.
I don't know, but my right, I'm sharing my screen and already it visible to most of the guys. So who are having some issue, they just need to update their Chuma. That's what I can understand. Okay. So now what we are going to develop, we are going to develop the RESTful service for product management. Management means it is not only going to perform the insert, update, and delete operations, but also how effectively we are going to retrieve the data. So when I'm saying retrieving the data, so if it is a single record, it's fine. But if you are going to provide some kind of a searching, filtering, right, then what is the best option? Best option is what? Suppose, guys, tell me, if your database table is going to contain 1,000 records and you want to retrieve all the records and you want to return to the client, what is the best approach? If I'm going to return 1,000 or million of record, right, that is also going to be damage the UI. So because in the UI I cannot display all the 1,000 record at the same time, right? Again, if I'm transforming a huge amount of data, right, it is going to take more time. Then what is the best option? So best option means what? The UI should work smoothly, the API, right, I mean the client server, that communication should work smoothly. That the best answer is pagination, right? So whatever the based on the page number, we need to retrieve and we need to only return the appropriate page number data. So that what also we are going to implement, how we can implement pagination as per the industry standard. So whatever application we are going to develop in today's session, that is going to be our backend application, and how we are going to develop in real-time application. That approach I'm going to follow step by step, completely as per the industry standard. How you need to develop the application is what we are going to develop. You also need to follow. So first of all, you need to create one web API project. So open Visual Studio. So let me go ahead and create a new ASP.NET Core project. Okay. Select the project template as ASP.NET Core Web API. Provide the project name, and where we need to create this one. I need to create this inside my Angular training. So in Angular training, create a new folder called projects, and within this projects folder, I'm going to create this one. So basically, we created a new project. So go with the default option. Don't do anything special. Just click on the create button. So with this, what will happen? our ASP.NET Core WebAPI project with the default project template is going to be created. Default project template means whatever the minimum files are required, they are going to be there as it is. Apart from this, it is going to create one weather forecast controller and weather forecast model. These two files are not needed in our application. So once you create, programming approach is to delete those files because these are not required for our application. Second thing, so we need to install the required NuGet packages. So as we are going to communicate with the database using entity framework core approach, code first approach, so first of all, we need to install the required entity framework core packages. One package is for communicating with the SQL Server database. So this is the package that what you need to install. And the other package is the tools package, which is basically needed for generating the add update and add update. I mean the generate add migration and update database command. So let's install this one. This tools package, okay. So it is saying some error. So what is that error? The syntax is wrong. So here we need to use install package. Right? So you need to write install package. Let me clear the screen, execute this one. So the required EF core packages we have installed. Now what I need to do, I need to create a complete industry standard project folder. So common means what? Now any model class which is common for everyone that needs to be put inside the common folder. Exception, any custom exceptions we created that needs to be inside the exceptions folder. Any custom controllers we are going to create that needs to be created inside the controller folder. Data means what? The DB context object. So whatever the DB context class we are going to create, which is responsible for performing the DB operation using entity framework core over the SQL Server database, that DB context class we need to create inside this one. So for better communication, right? Before this one, let me put this model here because if there is no model, no DB context, right? So models folder is specifically for creating the entities or model for which we need database object. Database object means database table. So then data we discussed DTOs. DTOs means what? Now for the communication between the client and the server, we are not going to expose our internal structure of our model or entities. Why? Because it might contain some more data, it might contain some less data, which is not might not be suitable for the customer. So in that case, we need to create a separate request which is going to take the incoming data from the client, and we are going to create separate DTOs for the responses, which is going to be used by our applications to send the response to the back to the client. Mapping means what? Now this is the class file where we need to define the mapping between DTO to models and models to DTO. So handler means what? Now any custom handlers you created. For example, I don't want to implement a try catch everywhere in my application. Right? I don't want to write a try catch in inside every action method. I can create a global exception handler which is going to handle all the unhandled exceptions, and after handling the unhandled exception, it can return a proper response to the client. Similarly, repository folder is going to be there, and within the repository folder, I'm going to create separate folder, or you can just subfolder one for interface, where I'm going to define the interfaces. And implementation means what? Whatever the interface we define, the implementations we need to define within the implementations folder. Same in the case of services. Repository means what? They contain the data access logic. How you are going to communicate with the database, that logic we need to define here. So mostly we are going to perform the database CRUD operations within the repositories. Service means this is our heart of our ASP.NET Core web application. Any business logic, validation logic that needs to be put inside the services. Services will be consumed by the controller, and services will consume the repositories what we defined to communicate with the database. So this is the folder structure that what we need to implement. Now can I right now if anyone having any question related to any particular folder, right? Why we are creating that folder? What is the need of that folder? They can ask me. Clear or
Actually,
anyone?
I have a confusion related to repository and services.
Yes. So what is the confusion? Ask me.
Like we can whatever services we we can directly write the method and then we can use in the controller, right?
Absolutely fine. So from the controller, you can consume the services, and in the service class, you can absolutely write the data access logic code. There is no issue. Did you attend our unit testing sessions?
Oh, yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So if you attend the unit testing session, then you just tell me what is the role of a repository and what is the role of a services. If I write directly the data access logic within the services, then how I can unit test the service logic without any dependency on the database?
Actually, the second session I missed. Like first two session I joined.
Then right. So basically, repository responsibility is different. Services responsibility is different. Repository means it should contain only the data access logic. And second thing, for example, if I write the logic within the service class, data access logic. Today, you are using repository. I mean, entity framework code. And that entity framework code logic you write within the service class. Tomorrow, you want to use ADO.NET. Then what you need to do? Again, you need to come to the service classes and you need to update the logic. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. If I'm using this repository interface and implementation based approach, then today one class I created that implement the interface defined in the repository and I use entity framework code. Tomorrow I don't need the entity framework code. I don't need to remove that entity framework code itself. I can create another class inheriting from the same interface and I can write the logic using ADO.NET. And then what I need to do? Just I need to go to the dependency injection registration that is within the program class, and I just need to define for this interface. Now please use the implementation which is provided by ADO.NET Core. So tomorrow you want to again use entity broker, just write what I can say, just update that implementation name, right? I mean within the dependency injection. So your application, your service is not going to be impacted. Clear? But if I'm writing the direct logic within the service class, this will make a huge impact in real time. You cannot I'm not going to modify right every time when I need to do some database changes. Second thing, I cannot perform a unit testing. Third thing, dependency is there. So I'm not going to use right I mean right, if you know, did you follow the SRP principle? Do you have any experience related to solid? You know what is solid five principle, and one of the principle is
Yes.
single
Yes.
principle.
Responsibility of info.
Yes. Now you can tell me. Then why I'm going to create services and repository? I can directly write the logic inside the controller itself, and it will work absolutely fine. Then why I'm creating services? If I'm writing the every
Using
logic
the
within the action method, it will work absolutely fine. Then why services?
For
Tell me.
decoupling,
Sorry.
to decouple the layers, like we should not depend on any particular service. To
Exactly.
decouple,
So I still I'm not getting. So to decoupling means what? If
so
I'm
if
writing
we,
everything within the controller action method, then what is the problem?
so if we write anything within the controller, so we should not able to test the complete code. So if
Suppose,
anything,
suppose, see, right, and my company told me that I don't need a unit test. Then what is the second problem? If I'm writing everything within the controller action method, is it following the solid principle?
no, everything should be there in single action method.
Right? If I'm putting everything inside the single action method, there is no SRP. And
Yes.
if you are not following the solid principle, means what your project is not going to be run right as expected, and future changes you cannot do right very easily. So every time responsibility should be segregated. Whatever the responsibility, accordingly you need to define. Then right, why I'm creating this DTOs? I can directly use the models. That will work as expected. But why I'm creating separate request and response DTOs? Because I want to separate the responsibility. I don't want to mix multiple responsibility on a single entity, or I don't want to write multiple response logic, right? I mean, multiple responsibility within a single action method. Every entity, every class, every method should have their own responsibility. They should not override each other. And second thing, you are writing the responsibility separately, that is absolutely fine, but at the same time they should not be tightly coupled. Tightly coupled means what? Means we should not create their instance using the new keyword within the dependency class. They should be injected via the constructor, and that is the reason why we need to follow this interface and implementation based approach. Clear guys?
Yes.
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 Okay, so now let us proceed and create this folder. First of all, let me go ahead and create the common folder. Okay. Second is going to be the exception. So according to the industry standards, how you need to develop the project, that's what I'm following. Controller is already there. Create the models folder. Data folder. DTOs folder. Within the DTOs folder, I need to create a two more subfolder. One is for request DTOs and another one is for response DTOs. Folder structure should be very clear while you are designing the application. So let me go ahead and create another folder, response. Mappings also another folder, that what we need to create. Currently in today's session, I'm going to use manual mapping, but for right, because it's a very simple one. But in real time, guys, don't put any message in the chat window. I never looked at the message. Anyone having any question, they can call, right? They can directly ask me. One is handlers folder. Then I need to create a repositories folder, interfaces. Within the repositories, I need to create a subfolder called interfaces, and same implementations I need to define here within the repositories. Then I need to create another folder called services. Then within the services, I need to create interfaces and implementations. Those who are working in real-time applications and right, they should follow this approach, because this will give you better management of your source code. Clear, guys? All the folders we have created. Now, what is the next? Next, we need to create the required model. Model means what? They represent the data, and you can say they represent the business data. Also, you can say model means for which you want to create a database table. So and now we are going to create a very simple model class. We are going to manage the product data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a product model. So within which folder I need to create the model? Model means it should be come inside the models folder. So this is going to be my product model. I'm going to add few properties. So let me go ahead and create the model class. So here you can see this is product ID is going to be my primary key, name, SKU, description, category, price, stock quantity, is active, created, updated. So this is my properties. So currently within the model class, I'm not applying any data annotation attribute. Why? Because I'm going to apply the same within the context object on model creating method. So within the on model creating method, using right before proceeding further, can anybody tell me if this is my model and if I want to make this as my primary key, I want to apply some maximum length character, minimum length character, some type of a default value, some decimal precision, right? Then in how many ways we can do this? One is data annotation. What is the other approach?
Fluent validation.
Sorry?
Fluent validation.
Yeah, Fluent API, not validation. Yes, you can consider validation when it is going to receive the incoming data, but here it is fluent configuration, right? So that's what we need to define, and that approach I'm going to follow. The second thing is what? Now, once we have the model, I want to configure that model. So configure that model means for this model, I want to create a table in the database. Name is going to be products. Whatever the properties are there, for this properties, I need to define some constraints. I need to define the primary key. I need to define the optional column. I need to define some uh, characters with some size, right? And second thing, I want to provide some initial seed data. And for that purpose, what I need to create my context class, and that needs to be created. And that class is going to deal with the data, right? Then that class should be created within the data folder. So this is going to my product DB context. So all the product related information it is going to manage. So let me go ahead. And we have already discussed this thing in entity framework core sessions. So I hope you guys know this thing very well. So now you can see this is my class. And can anybody tell me, is it mandatory to mark this class as a shield? If no, then what happened? If yes, then what happened? What is the meaning of a shield keyword?
Cannot be
Leave
inherited.
the class so that child cannot inherit.
Yes. So shield means there is no child of this class anymore. This is the child, and from this child, right, there is no more child classes. So in this case, the class should be inherited from the DB context. What database to be used, what is the connection to be used, that what needs to be provided from the program.cs class file. This is my DB set property products. So this is going to be my table name in the database. And using this on model creating method, first of all, I'm calling this on model creating using the base. This is not mandatory, but if you apply, then the default configurations will be provided. Generally, we apply this because we want the default configurations. Default configuration means this is going to be the ID, this is going to be the primary key. So like this. So now, this is optional, not mandatory. Now we need to configure our product entity. So how the model builder dot entity, you have to provide the product entity name. Using the lambda expression, you can specify what should be the table name products. Which one is going to be your primary key ID? Do you want to generate this column value automatically? Yes. When a new entity is being added, so value generated on add. Every time I add a new entity to this products table, that the ID column value is going to be automatically generated. So technically you can consider ID is not only going to be the primary key, but also it is the identity column of my table. Identity column means what? That column value is going to be generated automatically in the database. Clear? These three configurations are clear or not?
Yes.
Okay. Now, name, you can see it is going to be required field. Optional is also, suppose you want to make this optional, then you have to pass false. If you are not passing anything, means what? It is a required field. So by the default value is going to be true, and then this property is going to be required field, and maximum how many character it can accept in marker of 150. Similarly, SQ you can see this is also required field, and maximum 50 character is allowed for the stock keeping unit. So description you can see maximum of 1000 character, but I have not applied this is required. And if you see the description, that question mark is already applied, means what? This is going to be a nullable column. Category, you can see this is required 100 character. And for the price, you can see maximum 8 digit, and after the decimal 2 digit. So maximum total 8 digit, but after the decimal after the dot, 2 decimal points are accepted, not more than 2. Stock quantity, it is a required field. Is active, it is you can see I'm passing this value default to true. True means what? Now while I'm making an entry into this table, if I do not provide this property value, even here also we are setting that default value to true. From here you can ignore, right? So basically, whenever I'm making any entry into this product table, what is the default value? By default is active, the default value is false. But that's what I don't want to store in the database. So I want to store default value true, And that is the reason why I'm setting this has a default value. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right. Similarly, I have provided the right column data type datetime too, and the default value means what? See, guys, remember there are two things. So has a default value means what? Now from the application itself, we are sending the default value. And here has a default value SQL means what? This should be a function that needs to be executed at the SQL. So basically here the value we are providing, and here that value is going to be generated at the database side. So as default value means we are passing the value directly. Has a default value SQL means whatever we are passing that will be generated at the database side. And here since right UTC date time, so this is going to be executed in the database and it will return the current date time in UTC format. Similarly, update at 2, you can set, and here you can see created at, updated at, what we have provided. Created at, we have provided the default value. But we have not provided the default value for updated ad. Why? Because at that time, updated ad is going to be not. When I'm going to update that product, that time I need to update this column value. SQ, you can see, is unique. So basically, what exactly it means? It means we are applying one index on the SKU column. So what type of index? Unique index. And what is the index name? This is the index name I have provided. So what is the benefit? Now, this index will ensure the SKU column value is going to be unique throughout the table. So no duplicate value is allowed. Similarly, product class, right? I'm creating one index on the category column, but here I'm not applying is unique. So basically, this is a non-unique index. And also, I'm creating an index on the is active column. That is also going to be non-unique. Clear? So if I'm applying this is unique, then that column is going to be a unique index. If no is unique is available, means what? Means that is a non right unique index. Clear?
Yes.
Clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so these are my configuration for the product table. Now I'm providing some hard-coded or you can say dummy data for the testing purpose. One product I created with ID 1, another product with ID 2, ID 3, ID 4, and the ID 5. So basically 5 products I have inserted. Clear? Anyone having any query related to this ProductDbContext class, they can ask me before proceeding further. Is that clear to everybody?
So this Fluent API is only returning in this context class only. We are returning
Sorry?
this Fluent API you return now. So it is returning inside this class only, DB context class. We should write that.
So first of all, tell me, have you ever used Fluent API in your project?
Now I'm mostly using attributes only. It's Fluent validation I'm not using.
So have you ever used LinQ?
Yes, yes.
How you are writing LinQ?
Using the
Means what?
context object.
You are applying multiple method, one after another using the dot operator.
Yes.
That is Fluent API only. If you are calling multiple methods one after another using dot, that means it is Fluent API. Do you have any idea how Fluent API is implemented internally?
No, sir, I didn't work in Fluent API.
So you worked with LinQ means you worked with Fluent API only. Have you write a DB context dot tables dot faster default?
Yes, sir.
Right? DB
Context
context
object.
dot tables dot where dot to list. What is this? This is Fluent API.
Okay.
And here also I'm doing the same thing. Here you can see I'm applying dot entity dot to table, entity dot hash key, entity dot property dot value generated here 3 times. This is Fluent API. That is the other thing is that you don't know how the Fluent API is implemented. And that's what I have already explained in my EF core sessions. Did you attend EF core sessions?
I have taken Angular only, so didn't attend.
You see, if you are only taking Angular part, then right, this is not mandatory for you because you are not interested in the web API development. What is your primary role? primary role is to consume the services, which is going to be developed by web API people. But if you want to become a full stack developer, this is mandatory. Only the web developer, Angular is fine. But if you want to become a full stack developer, this part is mandatory. Because in Angular people, they are going to consume the services which is going to be provided by the API team. And if you are not aware about this API concept, that is absolutely fine. If you are only taking the Angular course, that is absolutely fine. What I'm showing here, just to do as it is and consume the services from your Angular application. Again, if you are a .NET people and if you want to become full stack developer, this is mandatory. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I have done. The configuration part is done. Next what? So once we do this thing, next what I need to do, I need to create my database, right? And that configuration settings I need to provide within the app settings.json file. So full stack. So I'm giving the name as FS full stack. Any name you can give. Okay, let me give this name as Angular. Angular product management DB. So any name you can give. Angular product management DB. Trusted customer. So this is my connection string, which you will get easily. And second thing, allowed origin. So basically, this allowed origin currently I have hard coded, but what exactly it is means now in reality, when the Angular application will run and when we develop the Angular application, that Angular application URL I need to provide here. But now I have hard coded this with this HTTP localhost to 4200, HTTPS localhost 4200. So once you develop the Angular application, that URL I have provided here. Why? Because to avoid the CORS issue. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is going to my app settings.json file. The next what I need to do, I need to create the required request and response DTO. DTO means what? Data transfer object. The DTOs are used to transfer the selected data, not all the data, selected data between the client and the web API. Right? So why? Now they protect the database entities and allow us to control what data the API should receive and what data the API should return to the client. So that complete control will be provided to us by the DTOs. So what I need to do, I need to create one DTO for creating a new product. I need another DTO, all right? I mean another DTO for updating one existing product. I need another DTO for returning the product information. So basically, mostly three DTOs are going to be there: two request DTO and one response DTO. Fourth thing, what I need a DTO, not exactly DTO, you can see one model which is going to hold the query string parameter. So basically, when I'm going to provide the global search filter, so I want to provide some dynamic search flexibility. Dynamic search flexibility means what? Now, if you look at this product table, so whenever the user search the data, search the product, he can provide a value. That value might be the field of a name. That value might be the field of SKU. That field might be part of the description. That field might be part of the category. So we need to search that value within these four fields. So dynamic filter I need to apply. Again, not only this search text, we are also going to take the page number, page size. So basically for this purpose, I need to create a model, right? You can use inline, I mean, you can use a simple parameter, but recommended is a complex. So when the parameter list is more than two or three, it is mandatory, not mandatory, it is recommended to create a model class. And for that purpose, we are also going to create a model class. If this is not clear, what is the use of that model class? I will show you practical, what is the real-time use cases. So let me first create a product request DTO. The name should be very clear. So here you can see create a product means what? Now it is this DTO is basically going to create a product and it will be used as part of the request object. Request means for incoming data. When I'm saying response, response means for outgoing data. So this DTO is basically used for creating a new product. So where to then as it is a request DTO, it should be created inside a DTO and under the request folder. So let me go ahead and create the DTO. And now If you see for this product entity, I have not applied any data annotation, and the complete configuration I have done within this model creating. But when you are receiving the data, right, from the client, you have again two options. You can go with the fluent validation, you can go with the data annotation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use data annotation this time. So how to use the data annotations? Let's see. So here you can see name. I'm specifying it is a required field and maximum 150 characters, minimum 2 characters. That's what I have specified. Similarly, right, for the SKU, it is a required field, maximum 50 character, and here it can contain only alphabet and a digit, no other characters, right? Then this is the description. You can see category, you can see price, you can see stock quantity, you can see is active, you can see. So here also I have applied the range attribute so that the stock quantity value can be between 0 and whatever the maximum value of int. Price, you can see, right, minimum value is 0.01, maximum value is this one. Category, you can see it is also required field, maximum 100 character. Description, it is optional. And if you look at this, for this create request DTO, I'm not taking the ID value which is going to be generated by the system. I'm also not taking this created at and updated at that is going to be generated by the system. So what is the benefit if if I'm using this product as my right model for receiving the input data, then this field is visible, these two field also visible, which we don't need. That is the reason why we are creating this record exactly the data we need and exactly the data that is going to be sent by the client. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, I need to create the update request DTO. This update request DTO again very much similar to this create product request DTO. Right. Let me go ahead. This is very similar to what we. So currently for these two projects, it is similar. Later on, you can add more properties or less properties as per your requirement. For example, if you ensure that the SQL is never going to be updated, then don't take this value right from the client while updating the data. But now we are keeping this right identical to our create request DTO. And this is important, product query parameter. So this product query parameter is basically used for global filtering. It's basically used for pagination. So basically where I need to create within the request because this is also coming from the client. So it should be part of the request, but this is not a DTO. This is a parameter. So product query parameter. So product query parameter means what? Now these parameter values will come as part of the route data. Yes or no? Yes or no? This parameter will come as part of the route data. Yes or no?
Yes.
Guys, tell me. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. How many of you are agree with yes and how many of you are agree with no?
It will come as
No,
a
no.
parameter. It will come as a queue, not route.
As a query
So
string.
if you guys remember, yesterday we only discussed query parameters are basically used for what purpose? Filtering, sorting,
Filtering,
searching, and
sorting.
pagination, right? These are optional parameters. And in this case, right, these are optional parameter and it should be part of the query string, not as part of the route data. Route means mandatory parameter, basically used for identifying a particular entity. So if I'm passing source term, category is active, is this going to identify a single entity? No. Page number, page size. So this is not related to a single entity. So that means this is going to be part of the query, right? These are query parameters, not the route data. So here you can see search term I'm taking from the client, which is going to search the product right in multiple columns. Category I'm taking, each active I'm taking, page number and page size. So and the default value for page number is 1 and default value for page number, sorry, page size is going to be 10. So, and each active, if you pass, that is fine. If you don't pass, that is also fine. So, category sorts from every, right? You can see these three are optional parameters. So, here, all these three are optional parameter. These two are not optional parameter. Yes, these are also optional parameter. Why? Because we initialized with the default value. Default value means if you do not specify, then by default the default value will be stored inside this two parameter. And here, what is the default value? As you can see, I'm putting a question mark, means this is going to store now. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm going to use, I'm going to show you how to implement a dynamic filter along with the pagination. Next, what I need to do, I need to create response data. And if you want to see how it is going to work, you can see after the question mark, you can specify page number 1, page size 10. You can only specify search star mouse, category electronics is active true. You can also specify category electronics is active true, page number 1 and page size 10. So see, basically all the permutation combination is possible. Why? All the properties are optional only. So now product response DTO. That's what I need to create as part of the response DTO/response folder. And this is the DTO that what we will use to return the data to the client when the operation succeeded. So here you can see product response DTO, ID name, SKU, description, category, price, stock quantity, all the properties, whatever we defined within the product model, that's what we are storing here. If you don't want to return any of this property as part of the response, that is absolutely fine. For example, I don't want to return this one. You can remove this one. There is no issue. Let it be there. But if you don't want any properties to be returned, you can remove from here. Clear?
Yes.
Right. So, see, now what is important thing? Now, if I'm going to return list of a product, I can simply create a list of a product. But that is not going to solve my purpose. Why? If I'm implementing pagination, then along with this list of a product, do I need to return other informations? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
So what other informations you need? Suppose I'm returning this list of a product. Then what other information I need to return? Now, what is the current page number? Yes or no? You are showing the first page, second page, third page.
Yeah.
What is the page size? Yes or no?
Yes.
Total pages, page count. So all these informations we need or not? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right. So for this purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a generic class. Why generic class? Because today it is list of product. I'm using this pagination. Tomorrow, if you want to return list of a customer, I don't need to create a generic, right? I don't need to create a class for returning list of customer, because list of customer is fine. Only this, right? Only this customer, this product, this is what going to be changed dynamically. Remaining fields are going to be same. So if that is what your requirement, then what is the best solution? The best solution is generic class. Anyone know what is generic class? Generic class is a class whose type will be defined at runtime, right? So let us proceed and understand how to create a generic class. So basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a page result.cs, and this class is going to be used by multiple components. So multiple means definitely it is part of your common folder, right? Page result. So let me go ahead and create this one. This is very interesting, right? So first of all, you can see this is a page result of a T. What is T? T represents the type of a data. It can be product, it can be product response DTO, it can be customer, it can be customer response DTO, it can be order, it can be anything. It can be anything. Anything means it's a type which we need to define at runtime. This T can be integer, this T can be string, this T can be anything. Any built-in data type or any user-defined data type. So now let's consider this T is nothing but your list of what I can say list of a product. Let's assume this T here represent a list of a product. That means what is the class name? Page result a list of a product. So what I'm doing here, please observe, I'm creating a collection. right? I'm right while I'm creating an instance of this class. So you can see what is this? This is the constructor. So while I'm creating an instance of this class, what I need to specify? I need to specify the T types. I mean, list of product, list of customer. That what you need to pass. You need to pass the page number. You need to pass the page size, and you need to pass the total record. So you can see current page number, or you can say page number, page size, and the total pages. So these three things, along with the data, that what we receive right through the constructor. And then what I'm doing here, please observe. Now these items I initialize, page number I created, right? Page size I specified, and the total record I specified, and the total pages I also specify. And right, and these are the properties. Okay, let me do one more thing. Right, see, this is my items array. That what I initialize here. So page number I initialize with the incoming page number. Page size, whatever the page size we specify. Total record, total number of records, that what we initialize. So based on the total record, if total record equals to 0, then it is going to return 0. Otherwise, whatever the total records divided by page size, and that is going to be total. For example, total record is 90, and total record is 90, page size is 10. So 90 divided by 10, that is going to be your total pages. Clear?
Yes.
And in this case, it is not going to return 9.5, 9.7. Integral division it is going to perform. And then some right property we have created here, read-only properties. So you cannot set this value outside. So has previous page. If the page number is greater than 1, means current page number is 3, then it should have a previous page. Has next page. If the page number is less than the total number of pages, then it should have a next page. So this is my paged result. So basically, whenever I want to return a list of data along with the pagination details, then in that case, my return type is going to be page result of T, where T is going to be the data. That T can be list of customer, list of a product, list of a employee, list of a order, whatever. Clear?
Yes.
Right? And okay, now tell me, what do I mean by I read only collection? I can simply use a list. Why I'm going with this I read only collection? So basically what it means, now what we return the data, right? The controller cannot modify the data. So this is going to be used by the, right, what I can say service class. Once the service class return the collection to the controller, controller can never modify the data. So this is a read only. Read only means no modification will be possible to this data. Okay. So this is going to be my page result. Now, from my API, right? From my API, I need to return a consistent error response format. So it should having some common properties. It should having the error property, data property, success, is processed, status code, message. That consistent error response, consistent success message, right? I want to return throughout all the action method in my application. Then what is the best option? Best option is to create a generic type. So API response. So basically, like this page result, which is a generic type, generic class, I also need to create one generic class for the API response. So in this case also, I need to use the same logic, same approach. But here, I'm going to create two methods. One, when the operation completed successfully, right? I mean, one when there is no issue, I mean no success, and another one is for failure. See, let us try to observe. So API response, so private API response. So now guys tell me, if I mark this if I mark the constructor as private, then can I create an instance of this class outside of this class? From outside of this class,
No.
can I create? No constructor. Private means it is only available within the class. That means from outside, I cannot create an instance of this class. Clear? First point is clear.
Yeah.
then what is the use of this class? If this class instance I'm not creating, then what is option? Then we need to provide some other approach to create an instance and return that instance. What is that other approach? We will create two static method. One create success and another create failure. That create success method will create an instance and return. This create failure also create an instance and return that instance. So if the constructor is private, is there any relation between the static method? This private constructor means when it will come into the constructor means it is related to object creation. Static means what? Object is not required. That means by using this class, I can invoke this method. By using this class, I can invoke this method. And that is the reason why these two methods I created as static and I mark the constructor as public, sorry, private. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so here you can see I defined one property called success, whether the operation completed successfully or not. What is the status code? Like this, you can return any user-friendly error message if you want to describe whether the operation completed or any user-friendly message. Data, this will hold the data in case of a success operations. This is my errors color dictionary. You can see which is going to hold the errors in case of a failed. This trace ID, this is a unique identifier which is provided by ASP.NET Core Framework for each incoming request. That a trace ID I'm going to also return, and using that trace ID I'm going to log the message so that whatever the once the client got the error message, so he will got the trace ID, and by taking that trace ID I can check in my log what happened to that particular request. And this trace ID, it is very similar to your GUID. So for each request you can create a unique ID or called GUID. That GUID you can store and that GUID you can return to the client so that you can verify the log. But in why should I create a unique GUID when it is already available to us, when it is already provided by framework? So I can use that trace ID. So timestamp when this message is returned, that timestamp data data I'm going to return. And this is my create success constructor. See here I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties. But in case of a success, what property I need? I need the status code, I need the message, I need the data, and I need the trace ID. Remaining properties are not required. So as this is the create success method, means what? Definitely the success property value is going to be true. So success equals to true. Whatever the status code we received, whatever the message we received, whatever the data we received, this data can be a boolean value, can be a string value, can be a list of string, can be a list of integer, can be a single product, can be a list of a product. It can be anything. Error, in case of a success, error is going to be null. And whatever the trace ID I received, that trace ID I am also returning. And timestamp means datetime.utc now. And in case of a failure, create failure. Here you can see status code I'm getting, message I'm getting, list of error I'm getting, and the trace ID I'm getting. So in this case, success definitely it is false. Status code what I received message data is going to be default, or you can set null. Errors, whatever the errors I received, that error I'm initializing. Trace ID, whatever the trace ID I received, and the timestamp. Clear? So basically, I need to call this create failure method, and I need to call this create success method, using this API response property data type, and whatever the response it is written, that what my controller action method will return to the client. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Right. So this is a generic class. Now, next what I need to do, I need to create some custom exception classes, which is going to be used by the service layer. So let me go ahead and create a folder, bad request exception, bad request exception. And guys, it is a good programming practice, right? I see many people are not doing this kind of activities. Bad request exception inherited. See, whenever you are creating a custom exception class, it should be inherited from the custom exception class. It should have one constructor which should call the base class constructor by passing the error message. So if I'm going to create an instance of this class, I need to pass the error message, and that error message it will return. So this is bad request exception. Body is not required, and then not found exception. Again, the logic is going to be same. It is going to be custom exception class inherited from the exception class. Again, this also going to call the base class constructor. So this is nothing but calling whatever the message I'm receiving, that what I'm passing to the exception class constructor. So these are the two custom exception classes. Clear till now? Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now what I need to do as I'm implementing as per the industry standard, everything should be interface based approach. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to define my repository interface where I'm going to define what all operations are going to be performed without providing the actual implementation details. That actual implementation right, can be implemented using entity framework or can be implemented using ADO.NET, can be implemented using Dapper, right? Any approach you can do, but that is what I'm not going to bother about. I'm only going to define what operations are available. How these operations are implemented, that is not my responsibility. That is what a interface does. But as long as the implementation class implement all these methods, I'm fine. How they implemented, it is their responsibility. So in this case, you can see I'm having get all async method, which is taking this query parameter. If you remember this product query parameter we define, which can accept search category, is active, page number, and a page size. And this is very, very important. So here I'm taking this query parameter, which is going to dynamically globally filter the data, which is going to return the paginated result. And guys, remember, as per the industry standard, whenever you are implementing any method, right, whenever you are implementing any repository method, service method, or controller method, please pass the cancellation token. What is the benefit of this cancellation token? For example, you open the browser, you open your browser and you open one page, right? And you make a request and you close that page, or you close that tab. Then what will happen? Now, internally, that browser is going to make a request with this cancellation token, and that cancellation token is going to cancel that operation. So that is the reason why every right asynchronous method, every asynchronous method should accept, right, this parameter cancellation token. So here you can see get all async, here get by id async. So here you can see id track changes, determine, right, this track changes means what? So this is get by id method, which is going to return a product. Suppose I'm returning that product details to the client. At that time, I don't need my entity framework or DB context to track that object. That is not required. But while I'm placing one order, I need to retrieve the product details. Later, I can update the properties. In that case, which property, stock quantity property, I need to update. Suppose I'm facing that whether the product is exist or not. In case of update operation, I need to retrieve the product and then I need to update the data. Then in that case, I need to track the changes. So basically, the same get by ID method is there, which is going to accept this Boolean track changes property value. If this value is true, it is going to track that changes. If the value is false, it is not going to track that object. But how we can implement this? Now, based on these values, dynamically we need to apply as no tracking. If it is true, I don't need to apply as no tracking. If this property, this column, this parameter value is false, then I need to apply as no tracking. How we can create this dynamic query? We will see. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? So exist by SQ. Suppose when you are updating the product or adding a product, you need to ensure that whatever the SQ provided by the client, that should not be existed in the database. Similarly, this is add product. It is going to create a new product. This is going to update the product. This is going to delete the product. And here one interesting thing you need to understand. So in this case, I'm using add async. Here I'm using execute exist async. Here get by async means what? Now at this point, I'm going to do some asynchronous operation with the database. But that is not true in the case of a update and a delete. Why? Because when I'm performing the update and delete operation, already my service class uses this method to get the product data. And here we are simply marking the entity state as modified, and here we are simply marking the entity state as deleted. When we call the save changes method, that operation is going to be performed on the database. That is the reason why I'm using these two methods as a non-async, means static synchronous method, and here asynchronous method. And for asynchronous, for each asynchronous method, you can see I have provided a naming convention like this async. And for asynchronous method, this cancellation token is mandatory. Not mandatory, but good to have. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Good.
Okay. Next, what I need to do, I need to implement this repository. Where to implement? Within the implementation folder. So the implementation is very interesting. Let us proceed and understand. Here, what is interesting? Interesting that global filter, how to apply, pagination, how to apply, that what you need to understand. Okay, let us proceed. So first of all, this is going to be my repository. So it should have this ProductDbContext. Using this DbContext, I can perform the database operations. First of all, please observe. So this get all async method, whatever the data this method is going to return, am I going to update those data? Or it is simply I'm retrieving the data and sending to the client?
Retrieving.
I'm not going to perform any update operation. So first of all, I'm preparing my base query. So dbcontext.product has no tracking. So if I'm not going to apply any filter, later it is going to retrieve all the product with the on tracked state. Then what I need to do, you can see this query parameter. This query parameter contains many properties. What are the properties? You can see sort term, category, is active, page number, and page size. This page number and page size, they have the default values, but remaining three, they are null. What I need to do, I need to check whether the search term is null or not. So is null or white space. If this is null or doesn't contain, if it is contain some value, is null or white space, is null or empty, any method you can use, that is fine. So first of all, I need to ensure this search term should not be null or empty. If it is null or empty, then it will not do anything. It will proceed to the next. If it is not null or empty, then what exactly it is going to do? First of all, it is going to trim any space if they are before and after the, from the starting and ending, that space it is going to trim. Then it will get the short string. And then what exactly you can see that a base query is there. And guys, remember, until and unless I'm not applying the to list, to count, right way, after default method, that query is never going to be executed. Is that clear?
Yes.
So here simply that query is being prepared, not executed. And on this prepared query, I'm applying the filter dynamically. So here you can see query that where I'm applying product search that product name contains this one, product.sq contains this one, product.category contains this sort. Basically, I'm applying this OR condition, and whatever the search term provided, that search term I'm checking in the name column, I'm checking in the SKU column, and I'm also checking in the category term. If that particular search term available in any of these three columns, that will be come as part of the resolution. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now again, I'm checking the category. So if the category is not null, right, if some value is provided, first of all, I have to remove the unnecessary spaces from the beginning and ending of the category. Then I need to apply the filter. So query but where product such that product dot category equals to whatever the category. Here it is contents because it is a tor which can be part of a value. Our data. And here exactly category you have to specify. Then if this is active has some value, has value means what? Now this has value property is going to return true when this particular parameter having a value. If it is null, then it will return false. If it has a value, then it can be true or false. and accordingly it will apply the filter. This dynamic filter is clear. How to apply?
Yes, sir.
Right. So once the filter is applied, first of all, what I need to do? I need to first send a query which should return me the total count. So based on this filter, how many products are satisfied? That count I need to return. So total count. So query.count asking, it will execute the query and it will return a single value, total number of records, right? As per this filter. And once right, why I'm sending this one? Because there are multiple regions. Suppose if because I don't want to return all the record from the database. So let's assume based on this parameter, 1,000 products are satisfied. Do I need to fetch those 1,000 from the database? Not required. Why? Because the client requirement is only the first page and maximum 10 items. So I need to return only 10 items. Then why should I fetch 1,000 records from the database? Not required. But how many number of pages are there for calculating the total pages? That total count is required. So that is the reason why first I fetch the total records and then I'm going to apply my condition. So what is the condition? First of all, I'm sorting the data by name, then sorting the data by ID, any right first order by, then by if you want order by descending, then by descending, anything you can apply that order by and then by I apply for sorting the data, right? Then I'm going to skip. So how many number of records to be skipped? Suppose, guys, tell me, this logic is interesting. Suppose you request for the page 1 and your page size is going to be 10. Suppose this is what requirement. That means, and total record here, how many total records? Total records, let us assume total records means what? Total record ID. ID 1 to 100. 1, 2, 3 like this. 1 ID 1, 2, 3 still 100. So now if the client wants page number 1 and page size 10, that means the first 10 record or what? If the client asking for the page number 1 and page size 10, means what? I need to return the first 10 record or say from the record number 11 to 20 or from the record number 21 to 20. What I need to return?
1 to 10.
1 to
1 to
10.
1 to 10. So if you want to 10, then if you want 2, 3, like 100 is there in my result set, then do I need to skip anything from the beginning?
Not required.
No.
Not required. That means skip is going to be 0. So whatever the logic we have written here, is this going to make the logic 0? What is the page number? 1. 1 minus 1 is how much? 0. 0 multiplied by page size means what? 0 only. That means it is going to skip how many numbers? How many records?
0.
0.
Take means page size. So it is going to take it is going to skip 0 records from the beginning. It is going to take the page size, that is 10. Right? So that 10 it is going to return. And the to list async means that query is going to be executed. And it is going to retrieve only the first 10 record from the database. Now tell me if the page number is going to be 2. So if page number is going to be 2, then how many record it is going to skip? So 2 minus 1 is how much? 1. 1 into 10 means what? 10. So it is going to skip the first 10 records. Then it is going to take the remaining 10 records. Now, if the page size is 5, then how many records it is going to skip from the beginning? So 5 minus 1 is how much? 4. 4 into 10 means what? 40. So it is going to skip 40 records and it is going to take the remaining 10 records. That logic is clear to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So once this is done, then what I need to do? I have created a page result class, right? So page result of a T. So in this case, what is T? T is going to be list of, right? I mean, T is going to be product. So in my case, that T is going to be product. So let's see how we can create an instance. Page result of a T. T is going to be product. Clear? So while I'm creating an instance of this class, I need to specify the type T. And then whatever the type you specify, that type of right item you can specify. So here type is product. That means I can pass a list of a product. Clear? And what is the page number, page size, and the total records? That what I have passed, and that is what it is going to return from this method. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So get by ID method is very
We can
simple.
also handle the skip page in that inside that page result, right?
Where?
See, instead of passing the page number and page size and total record, we can also send that collection of the product and we can write this logic there only, right? That will also
Where
help.
you want to write the logic?
This is skip method.
Okay, now I'm talking this skip method and take method. Where you want to write?
Inside page result.
Inside?
Inside page result. We have class where we are uh, handling pagination, right?
I don't know. Pagination means where exactly? Tell me in my application. Whatever you are asking, please give me clarity. Pagination means what? Where
No,
exactly?
see, in line number 98, now we are passing product page number and page size.
Yes.
He is asking about the page result.cs page, I think.
Still, I'm not understanding. So you mean here only I need to apply the skip and take?
I was saying that the above logic we can also handle inside that class so that we can avoid now because
No,
redundant.
brother, use your brain. So this logic should be executed at the database or in my application?
Obviously, it will execute.
If I'm going to ignore this logic, if I comment this logic, whenever the query is being generated, is this right going to execute in the database? In that case, what will happen? This logic will never execute in the database. Means what? It is going to return all the data, and then I need to apply filter on my application code. Is that going to give better performance? You have two options: fetch all the data from the database, apply the filter in memory. Second option, filter the data itself in the database and return the filtered result. Which one is good?
I think this
Brother, we are following the industry standard. Performance is the key factor. And as per the industry standard, filter always and must be done at the database side. And only the filtered result we need to return. And that is the reason why, right, I have executed this one first, so that I can get the total count. And then I apply the filter and I get the filtered result. Now it's clear why I'm not writing that logic in my page result codes and why I'm passing the filter data.
got it. Got it.
Clarity is important, right? You are asking the query, that is absolutely fine. My responsibility to make you understand why not that and why this approach. Now it is clear? Okay. Now this is my get by ID method. You can see ID, track changes, and the cancellation token. Forget about this cancellation token, which is common whenever I'm executing any asynchronous method. I need to pass that one. Right now, let's assume these two parameters are there: ID and track changes. First of all, you can see I have to prepare the query. Query dbcontext.product. And now at this point of time, I'm not applying. In previous case, you can see I apply the as no tracking. Why? Because I know this is for returning all the data. But in this case, whether to apply that as no tracking or not, that basically depend on this track changes parameter. If that track changes parameter is not null or empty, then I have to apply. Sorry, if it is null or empty, then it will not apply. If not null, then it is going to apply the as no tracking. Then after applying the as no tracking, I need to write my query. Right. So first default product started product ID equals to this and the cancellation to come. Clear? Is that clear? This method is clear? Yes or no? So we
Yes.
need to disable the no tracking when the product is needed for a operation, right? So now exist SKU async. So again, it is very interesting. So we just need to check, right? Whatever the SKU is provided by the client while updating the product or while inserting a new product, we need to ensure this SKU should not be exist. So that's what I'm checking here. dbContext.product as no tracking any async. Any async means it will check whatever the SKU is provided is that SKU is available in the database, excluding the current product. Right? For example, if I'm updating one product, then if that value available within that product, that is fine. But that value should not be available in another product. For example, if you are updating your email address, suppose while you are performing an update operation, whatever the email address you provided, that should not be exist. That email address validation you can skip on your own record, but it should check right other record. But while adding, it will check all the columns. While updating, excluding your own entity, I mean record, it will check everywhere. That logic I have written here. So it is going to check whether the right, I mean SKU exists or not. So add async means what? You can see dbContext.product.add async. So it will mark the right entity state as added. And when the set changes method is being called, it will insert that record into the database. Update, you can see simply it is updating the right entity. Delete means you can see simply it is removing that product. And the set changes async means here you can see internally it is calling the set changes method of the dbContext. So at this point, the operation is going to be performed successfully. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is next? Next, we need to create my mapper. So which is basically responsible for mapping entity to DTO. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm trying to make you understanding the OOPS concept, right? So basically, what is an extension method? Guys, tell me, what is an extension method?
We can provide the extra functionality to the already existing class without
Yes.
modifying its existing functionality.
Exactly. So basically, it is going to be behave like a method of an existing class without modifying the existing class. So what is the syntax? It should be created inside a static class. That method is going to be static. The first parameter is going to be this object. So let us proceed and create this one. So what is the this mapper class? What we are going to define? It is basically going to an extension method. So here you can see this is my syntax. According to the syntax, product mapping, it's a static class. The parameter, it also static. So this parameter takes the first object of what type? Product type. That means what? Using the product object, I can call this method, something like this. If you are having the product object, you can call this method to response DTO directly. Why? Because the first parameter is this one, and this method belongs to this class. So once you call this right to response DTO method, what exactly it is going to return? It is going to return a product response DTO. So from my application, once I have the product object, I can call this method, and this method will return me the product response DTO. So whatever the product data, it is going to create a new product response DTO object, and it is initializing all the properties, and that what it is going to return. Clear? So now anywhere you need to map the product to product response DTO. You do not need to write this mapping logic again and again. You have already the product object. Just call this method which is going to return the product response DTO. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Right? So how to call this method, we'll see. So now I need to create the services. Okay. Go ahead and create a service. Where I need to create the service interface. First of all, I need to create the service interface, which is going to define the method for managing the business logic. But what the logic that is going to be implemented in the implementation class. Here you can see get all async method, taking this query parameter cancellation token, get by ID method, create async method, update async method, delete async method. So these are the method which is available in my service class. And now what is our important class? The heart of our application. This is the product service, which is going to provide the business logic for our project. So let me go ahead and create the product service class. In this case, the product service class will perform the database CRUD operation, right, using the repository what we just created. Also, it is going to validate the data. It is going to manage the business logic, right? Everything it is going to do. So now, so let me, before proceeding further, let me show you some private helper method we created, two method. So normalize SKU. So whatever the SKU is provided, if any space are there from the beginning and ending, that space will be removed. It will convert data to uppercase. Similarly, normalize optional text. So optional text means what? Whatever the description value you provided, right? If it is not null or empty, so it will return null. Otherwise, it will use the string method. So you can write this logic directly there. But as we are going to use the same logic multiple times, I'm simply creating. So this will create a standardized SQ in capital letter. And here it is going to standardize the optional description by trimming the spaces from the starting and ending. So these two method is there. Now let us try to observe. So first of all, it is injecting the product repository. Why? Because I want to perform the CRUD operation using this product repository. So I'm not going to use this product repository. I'm going to use this iProduct repository. And here you can say I'm using iProduct repository. I don't know who implement this iProduct repository, whether it is a product repository entity framework, product repository dapper, product repository area.in. I don't know. What I know, I am going to use something called iProduct repository. And who implement this repository? That configuration we need to define somewhere else so that framework can identify, can figure out this is the repository, and for this repository, this is the implementation class. And that what we need to configure within our program.cs class file. So once we have the product repository, let us try to understand the business logic. So get all async method. So first of all, gets the filtered result. How we can get the filter result? So this is my product repository, and I call this method by passing the query parameter and the cancellation token. So I got the paged result. So once I have the paged result, guys, tell me, in this case, it is this paged result is what? It is product or product response DTO. So this repository, so whenever the repository is always going to work with the model or DTO. If you look at the product repository, it is working with the product or product response detail. What exactly it is returning? Guys, tell me. Product only. Then do I need to return this product entity to the controller, which is going to return the same to the client, or I need to convert this product to product response detail? I need to convert that product to product response detail. Who is on mute? My voice is echoing. Okay, option. Okay. So now let us try to do. So once I have the page result, so for this page result items means this is going to contain the list of a product. Then I'm converting that list of product to product response detail. So here it is fetching one by one all the product. It will convert that product into product response detail, and that list it is going to convert. That is going to my product details. So this is very similar to a for each loop. So looping through all the product. Each product call this response DTO that will return the product response DTO, and that's what I need to store inside this collection. If this is not clear, right, I can simplify this for you. Right, let me create a variable. If this is not clear, that simplified version I can also create. So now I'm creating a new empty list of, guys, tell me, product response DTO. Right? Then what I need to do? Guys, tell me, product response DTO dot add. So to this method, what I need to do, guys? Product DTO dot not this one. This is page result. Page results dot items. Right. This is not product DTO. This is product. Clear? So this is what I'm doing here. The same thing I'm doing using the LinQ method. Whichever approach you like, you can use that approach, right? And once I have the product DTO, again now you can see my repository, my service class should return the product response. Now page result of a product response DTO. Again, I'm creating a new instance. Product DTOs, page number, page size, total record are passing. Clear? So now the service class is going to return product response DTO. My repository, you can see it return page result of a product. But here it return page result of a product response DTO. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So this is get by ID method. I'm calling the repository class by passing the same ID. And if the product is null, what I'm doing here, I'm throwing one exception. What exception? I'm throwing that product with ID was not found. If the product is not null, then simply I'm calling this to response detail, which is going to return that the product response detail from this method. Create async method, you can see, first of all, whatever the SKU, if you are providing some lowercase, uppercase combination of character, it will convert that into uppercase. Then once it convert, then I'm going to check whether that SKU exists in the database or not. If that SKU exists, then we can return this message, a product with this SKU already exists. If not exist, then what I need to do, I need to create a product object name, whatever the SKU we already got. Description we can normalize, category whatever the category you provided, price, stock, quantity, ejective, all this we provided here. Created art, we have set this one, not updated art. Then what I need to do, I need to call the product repository add async method. Once it is added, then I need to call the step changes method. So once I call the step changes method, product is being added. Once added, that updated this product entity is also going to be updated with the newly generated ID value automatically, and then I'm converting that product to my responsibility. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes.
This is my update async method, same, very same logic. So first of all, I need to figure out whether that product exists or not. So in this case, you can see, if you look at this get by ID, so here track changes false. False means what? It is going to make use of as no tracking. That entity is not going to be tracked. But in case of an update operation, do I need to track that entity? Yes. And at this time, I'm applying true. True means that as no tracking will not be applied. And if the product is available, that's fine. Not available, it is going to throw not found exception. Then it is going to normalize the SKU, check whether that SKU exists or not. If you already exist, then we need to display this message. Then I'm going to update the name, SKU, description, all these properties, whatever you want to update. And here you can see, I'm not updating the created app, but I'm updating the updated app. Finally, update this one, call the step changes method, and return the updated detail. Then delete async method logic is same. First of all, I need to fetch the data if it is available, then call the delete method, then call the step changes method. Clear? Clear, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now, one more interesting class we are going to implement, right? If you look at my service class, am I use any try catch blocks?
No.
And right, and if you are a beginner, 100% I'm sure you are writing logic using try catch block. But if you are a pro developer, you don't want your time to waste by writing the same repeated try catch block everywhere in your project. So if you want to become a pro developer, you should avoid writing try catch. You should go with some better mechanism, better manager, right, better application coding, so that you can write a logic at one place that is going to handle any exception thrown throughout your application. And in ASP.NET Core, that approach is nothing but global exception handler. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one global exception handler So where I need to create that within my handlers folder. So within my application, see, if you are writing any try catch block, that is absolutely fine, no issue. But if any on-handle exception is there within your application, then that exception is going to handle by this handler. So let us proceed and see. First of all, it should be a class inherited from the IException handler. So if your class is inherited from the IException handler, then it will become a handler class, right? Exception handler class. So here I'm injecting the logger to log the error message, right? Where the error message occurred, what error message occurred, right? That information I need to log. So global exception handler, it is going to for logging purpose. I'm initializing. This try handle async method. Basically, it is the method which is going to invoke automatically whenever there is a unhandled exception in your application. If you any unhandled exception, then this handler method that the try handle async is going to execute automatically. So this method takes 3 parameters. Cancellation token we have already discussed. This allows the response writing operations to be cancelled when the HTTP request is cancelled. Exception, what is the exception? Exact exception wherever you throw, whether it's a bad request exception, not found exception, internal server exception, whatever it may be, that exception object is going to be stored inside this variable. HTTP context means it is going to give you access the request and response. What is the request parameter if you want to access? If you want to modify the response parameters, right? Then you can do so using this HTTP context object. So now let us try to figure out, right? So first of all, this exception is thrown. First of all, we need to figure out whether this is a known exception or unknown exception. In my application, what are the known exception? Known exception is bad request exception. Known exception is not found exception. In my service class, if you go, right, then I have written some same thing, right? If you go ahead and check, bad request exception is there. Not found exception is also there. These are known exception. And if this is not, if it is a bad exception, what status code I need to return? 400. If it is not found exception, what status code I need to return? 404. Any other, apart from these two, any other exception, what exception status code? I mean, what status code I need to return? 500. This logic is clear. What should be the status code you need to return? Is that logic clear? That status code is going to be identified based on the exception type. And here I'm using the switch case, switch statement. So exception. So if the exception object of this type, it is going to return this value, that is will be the status code. If the object is not found, it will be the status code any. So this underscore means any other exception, right? This is going to be the status code. This status code part is clear. How we decide the
Yes.
status code? Okay. Next, I need to return the message. If it is a known exception, whatever the exception message, that what I can return. If it is an unknown exception, then I need to return a generic message. Again, the same thing. If it is bad request exception, whatever the message. If it is not found exception, whatever the message, right? For example, if you see this message, I want to return in case of a not found. So that message, right, it is going to store here. If it is not bad request, not found, then I don't want to expose my actual exception details. I can return a generic message, right? An unexpected error occurred while processing the request, something, right? Whatever you find best, that message you can return. This message property is clear?
Yes.
Right. Once this two is done, right? Next, what I need to do, I need to log the exception details. If it is internal, so again, we have already discovered the status code. Is the status code 500? If the status code 500, then right, log the complete exception details. That exception object I have messaged here. Whatever the trace ID, right? This HTTP context dot trace identifier. This is already set by the framework when the request received. If it is not 500, then what? It is a known exception. Not 500 means it is a known exception. So if it is 500, I'm logging this as an error. And if it is not a known exception, I'm not logging this as error. I'm logging this as a warning. Warning means it is not a error. This is a known exception. And Finally, whatever the response object you want return, I want return API response. Type your object, I can return any type of data. So create failure method. And in API response, while I'm calling the create failure method, status code, message, error, reside. This information I need to pass. So here status code is status code, message is this one. I'm not passing that value, right, error, which is null. And instead of that, I'm passing this message and address ID is this one. Clear? So this is my response object. Clear, guys? Is that clear? Okay. So now we have the response object. Then what I need to do? Next, I need to write that response to the response stream. So first of all, I'm setting the response status code as this one, whatever the status code we got. I'm setting the response content type header value as application/JSON. And then I'm writing that response to the response stream. So write as JSON async means whatever the response object, it will write them as a JSON. And finally return true means no other places. So this true means that exception is handled. You do not need to do anything special. So that is what the meaning of returning true. So this is my global exception handler. Clear? So now anywhere any exception thrown in within your application, that is going to be handled by this handler. Clear? Clear or no?
Yes.
Finally, what I need to do, two things are remaining. Products controller. Let me go ahead and create my controller. So product controller is very thin. It is not dealing any kind of business logic, any kind of data access logic. Simply calling the service class method. Let me go ahead and create this one. It's very simple. See, this is my product controller. It executes the product service, and this is my method. That method is get all. This method accepts the query parameters from the query and the cancellation token. And this method is going to call this get all async method, which is going to return the paged result, right? The paged result of a product response DTO. And once I got the result, I need to create a response. So how my API response and whatever the type, and type here is going to be paged result of product response DTO. Call this create success method. Status code is 200. Okay, product retrieve successfully list of a product and whatever the trace identifier that you can access using HTTP context. Finally return OK. And this produce response style basically going to tell the Swagger what are the different kind of a response this action method can return. This action method can return 200 and 400. In case of a 200, this will be the return type. In case of a 400, this will be the return type. Now, the same thing I'm doing here for getID method, calling the service class method. And accordingly, I'm preparing my response object, API response of T. And this is going to be my create method, which is going to create a new product. The logic is same, calling the service class method, preparing the response and returning 201 status code. This is for update method, right? Again, I'm doing the same thing, right? Calling the service class update method, creating a success response. In case of a delete also, I'm doing the same thing, calling the service class delete method, creating the success response. That's it. One more thing I need to tell here. This is. So now, whatever the ID parameter I'm expecting, I can apply some validation directly using the range attribute. So range, the minimum value 1, maximum value, whatever the max value of ID, you can pass. Directly, you can write the validation here. You do not, right? For earlier, what we have discussed for model, right? We are writing data annotation. Now, for primitive data type also, you can directly apply the attributes. Clear?
Yes.
Right? So once we have the products controller, next what I need to do, I need to configure my program class. So go to the program class, replace the code, very simple code. Now you can see I'm using add controller. I'm applying the JSON property naming convention. That property naming policy is null. So whatever the property name we define, that what it will return. and this is for our right model property. But this is for our handler. So not only the action method is going to return the response. Sometimes this global exception handler also going to return the JSON response. And for that purpose also, you need to configure that property serialization option is going to be none for the HTTP JSON options, right? Then this is my DB context. I'm registering my DB context, which will get the connection string from the objecting start JSON file with the key name ProductDB connection. And here I'm registering my product repository as scoped object, product service as a scoped object, exception, global exception handler. And guys, remember, once you register the global exception handler, you also need to add this add problem details. Why? Now this will work like a fallback error response. If the global exception handler what you created, currently it handle all the exception. But if you only handle the known exception, then your application is not going to work. So if you are creating any custom exception handler, then it is mandatory to add this problem details, which will work like a fallback handler for your application. Then I'm creating this allowed origin. So course, guys, remember, course is a very important topic. We'll discuss that in some later. But for now, just remember.
Add problem detail is predefined handler.
Sorry?
Add problem detail is predefined handler.
Yeah, it's a predefined handler that will work like a fallback for our right custom global handler. If any of the global handler doesn't handle the exception details, then it will right handle that. I mean, this is the fallback by default. This is going to handle. If it is handled, that is fine. If not handled, it will handle.
Okay.
So here I'm creating one right allowed origin. So whichever from which client application you can write respond. I mean, what are the valid origin from which you can accept the request? That information we have already provided here, right? Not we have not
Yeah,
provided.
it is here 6-7 line number.
Yes, yes, it is allowed origin. So these are the two origin. So that value I have pasted here, and I create a course policy. That name you can give anything. Policy here you can see with origin. So whatever the allowed origin, if you want to allow all the origin, so instead of with origin, you have to write allow origin. So allow any header, allow any method. So all the header value content type authorization accept everything is accepted. Allow any method means get put pass everything is accepted. Later, I will show you how to create some customization, but now this is fine. Finally, what I need to do, I need to use this exception handler, I mean, uh, pipeline middleware, and then you have to use this use course middleware. So with this, your application is now ready. So what is the next important step? You need to generate the migration file and update the database. So let me go ahead and create this one. So how we can do this thing? Tools, package manager solution. So, sorry, package manager console, create the migration file. It will build your project. It will check if everything is fine, right? Then it will build the project and it will create a migration file. And once the migration file is created, then what we can do is we can update the database. So still it is building the solution. Okay, build started, build succeeded. That's fine.
Panay, I have a question. Can you go in product controller.cs?
Sorry,
Can you go to product controller.cs?
product controller.
Yeah. Yeah, in this we are defining also the response, what our method can make in a response, like the product response type on the method we are defining.
Product response type means what?
The above line, yeah, here.
Produces response type.
Yeah. I think in the earlier we are not defining like this kind
First of all, say this. You are saying this. First of all, I will show you this thing practically. Right? What is the use of this one? Clear?
Okay.
So practically, I will show you because right. Why I'm saying? Because you are not following the industry standard. That is the reason why you are asking.
Basically, when we have created, when we have done the.
I will show you. I'll show you. I will show you that one. Let me first complete this one.
When we have done the microservices
I will show you. I will explain you practically. Please wait some time. Okay. So now my database should be created. So if you go ahead and refresh this one, you will only give me the answer, right? So we have created FS.
Angular underscore.
Okay, Angular underscore. So this is the database that what we have created now. Now everything is fine. So now let me show you the application, run the application. See, so this produces response time is only for Swagger. So if you want the Swagger to show you different type of responses, right, that action method is going to be written for different kind of HTTP status code. In that case, you need to write produces. For example, so let me go ahead. So now this get all method, right, for this get all method, I'm specifying produces response type for the status code 400, for the status code 200. For 200, what is the response? For 400, what is the response, right? That what it can define here. So these are the input parameter. See, for 200, what is the response? In 200, your application will return this detail. For 400, what is the response? For 400, this is the response. Now, if you look at the other approach, right, for the get by ID. In get by ID, we are expecting three different types of responses. 200 when the data is available, 400 bad request when you are passing a ID which is a 0, -1, something like this, and 404 when that product is not available in the database. So three. So let me go to the get by ID method. So here you can see 200, here you can see 400, here you can see 400 for now. Now what I'm doing here, I'm not writing this one. I'm not writing this one, right? And even, right, I'm not right. Okay, so let it be there, these two methods. See? Now, what is it returning? 200. What about the other status code? If you come here, it is returning 200. What about 404? What about 400? So if you are exposing this client, this Swagger URL to the client, then how the client will handle different status code and how the client will able to know for 400 what is the response format, for 200 what is the response, sorry, 404 what is the response format, how the client will identify. See, this doesn't have any impact on your application. This produces response time doesn't have any impact the way your application is executing. It is only for the Swagger to show the different status code the method can accept. I mean, the method can return. Clear? What is the use of this produces response type? Is that clear?
Yeah, clear, but client does not have the permission of using the Swagger page, I think.
See, I'm saying that this is not for your application execution. This is only for the documentation, for the Swagger. If you want to see, you can write. For example, in the get by ID method, I commented this one, right? And for the get all method, I commented. So my application is going to work exactly as expected, right? For example, I can call this one try out method and execute this one. So you should return me all the 5 records.
Do the documentation of our that time is
Yeah. So this is how it is returning, right? So now if you want to return by ID, right? Suppose I'm passing ID value 1 which is exist, that is fine. Now I'm writing 11 which doesn't exist. So it should throw me an error, right? Error response status 404, and this is what I'm getting. Clear?
Yes.
So with this, what we have done, we have implemented our, right, what I can say, the web API part. So tomorrow what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the Angular part. So how you can consume these services from a Angular application. Clear, guys?
Panay, it will help us the documentation part, the produce response type.
Sorry?
It will help us. It will help documentation part when we will do the documentation of this coding.
Yes, yes. 100%. Suppose you are
Yeah.
not, if you are not exposing this one, and if you want to expose what are the different status code and their response format, you have to prepare the document, and that document you need to send to the client.
Yes, yes.
right? So obviously, it will help you in documentations. You can copy this status code response format and paste it on your document and share that document to the client.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else having any more question, guys? This looks like a very small application, but we follow the industry coding standard. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. And this is what you need to follow. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pranay, hello.
Yes.
Are you going to share these documents after the class?
Not right. So actually, why I'm saying that message in the group, because I want more number of people to attend the live session.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.